We are storytelling animals and we all use stories every day. Therefore, I always recommend to have certain kind of stories that we use more frequently, to have them ready, to think about them in advance. The first kind of story is a who am I story. It's a kind of story that we use to introduce ourselves. Imagine a situation where it's a business meeting, or it can be a cocktail party, or maybe you are in front of a big audience. You are going to deliver a speech in a university, let's say. We tend to build that kind of stories in a very rational way, and sometimes even in a defensive way. We go with our business titles, or we go with our huge experience, or we go with our big education. Normally those kind of stories fail to connect with people. The more emotional, the more human, and the more humble is that who am I story, the better. Think about Obama during his presidential campaigns, and how he would repeat consistently one story about his unique family, his multicultural background, and how that family and that background helped him to be the perfect candidate in the perfect timing to be elected in the US. Another story that we use a lot is the why am I here? In some cultures, we tend to hide our intentions. What do we want to achieve with that meeting? Why am I delivering that speech? So I think that the more transparent and the more candid we are, the better. We will build more credibility, and we will connect easier with people if we are very clear on what we want to achieve. So if you want people to vote for you, say so. It's very important. If you want people to approve your project in your company, say so. Be candid. Another kind of story that is always good to have ready is a visionary story. Think about Martin Luther King and I Have a Dream. It's a kind of story that you need whenever a reality is not a reality yet, and you need to help people to imagine how it would be if they hire you in that company, if they promote you, if your idea gets the funding that needs to become a reality. Depict how the world would be, depict how the company or the team would be if your idea gets the approval. Another kind of story that is important is the educational story. So you may have already engaged with your audience. Your audience would be fully perceptive to what you are saying, but then they need to understand how your idea works. They need to understand how your service or product or brand works. So you need to help them to do that. When the little car by Mercedes-Benz, the smart car, was presented, the president said, "It's a perfect car to go to the beach with a couple of friends and a box of beer." So it's a perfect story to depict which is the main purpose of that car, and this story works perfectly well to convey the message about the brand, about the car. Once you have those kind of stories ready, the last one is the I know what you are thinking of. Is a story that you need to prepare in advance, especially if you are going to encounter an audience that can be skeptical, can be bored, or maybe an audience that is not getting traction of what you are saying or about your idea. So if you are perceiving that is happening, that you are not getting traction, stop the meeting, stop your speech, and ask in a humble way why you are failing to capture people's attention, why your story is not interesting, and what do you need to do. What do they want to hear? What do they want to learn from your story? And by doing so, by stopping the meeting, you will have the opportunity to reassess your story, and I'm sure that that humble gesture will help you to rebuild the audience attention and credibility. Remember, who am I? Why am I here? Then it's a visionary story, the educational story, and I know what you're thinking of.